Alright, hi guys and welcome to me stretching my arm like a retard. Welcome to Creepypasta Stories and Info. And today we're doing maybe a little less known one, but also one that I have never read as well, which is kind of strange. So today we'll be talking about Ted the Caver. It's like Jeff the Killer, only it's not at all. Actually, I wouldn't know, it probably is like Jeff the Killer. Only probably not at all as well. Anyway. Third. 23rd of March 2001. Due to the overwhelming number of requests I have received to tell about my discoveries and bizarre experiences in a cave not far from my home, I created this webpage. I will outline the events that happened to me during the past few months, beginning with my journey into a familiar cave in December 2000, and I got a message on Facebook just now. Yeah, anyway. Beginning with my journey into a familiar cave in December 2000, and ending, well, it hasn't actually ended yet. I will use my caving journal as the text to tell you about my recent experience. I will give them to you as I experience them, in chronological order. I have included photographs that were taken during my many trips into the cave. I have also created a few illustrations to help the reader get a better idea of what things looked like in the cave. All of the photos were taken by me, or one of the few people I went into the cave with. I want to point out a few things before I tell about the events. 1. Most of the pictures were taken with a Kodak disposable type camera. I took a better camera into the cave on one or two of the trips. Pictures on this site are all original photos and have not been messed with or enhanced, other than where noted. As a rule, I get my pictures put onto a disc at the time of developing so I don't have to scan them later. This ensures the best digital quality. 2. I will not reveal the names of the other people involved in this experience. If you know me well enough, you probably know them already. 3. I will not reveal the location of the cave to anyone for any reason, so please don't ask. I refuse to be held accountable for anyone's life but my own. I will refer to the cave as Mystery Cave. That is not its real name. If you think these events sound far-fetched, I agree. I would come to the same conclusion had I not experienced them. I will try to finish the site as soon as possible. Check the date on the main page to see when I've made updates. To protect myself from people who might want to copy the site, I include the following. All text on this and following pages are my own words and copyright 2001. Ted. I'll divide the text into two colours for the sake of clarity. The plain text is taken directly from my caving journal. The italicized text is my comment as I reflect on the experience. I will do my best to convey the thoughts and feelings I had during the entire event. I will not use the actual names of the other individuals involved. I will include the entire relevant text of my journal. Only small parts of the journal will I skip. This will only occur when the entry has nothing to do with my experience in the cave, such as eating dinner after a trip, getting fuel or snacks, relevant details, etc. My journey is fairly thorough. I will merely summarize what I am cutting out of the actual entry. In an effort to present this experience in as accurate light as possible, I will type my journal as I write it. Sans. Grammar check. Sans grammar check. What? Please overlook my errors. My additional comments will help to clarify the things I wrote in my journal. So, italicized text, good job Andrew. Italicized text, I will probably talk in a more of a high-pitched voice, kind of like my regular voice. And the regular I'll just read like this. No, probably... you'll know when it's italicized when my voice changes, let's just say that. B and I decided to get in one more caving trip before the new year, so we set our sights on Mystery Cave. Not a spectacular cave, but since neither of us had been caving in a while, it'd be nice to go into any cave. There was a bit of excitement to this trip. There was a small passage in the lower portion of the cave that I wanted to check out to see if it was possible to get past. It had a small opening, but lots of air blowing out of it, even though it is way too small to climb down through. I had never even checked to see what was inside the passage. We got our gear loaded up and hit the road by 3 o'clock. 3 p.m. We got to the cave in great time, since B likes to drive fast. We anchored from the usual tree and began to rappel into the cave. I went down first and got my gear together while B came down. I will refer to B many times. We've been caving together for many months now. He was injured in a caving accident a few years ago, and was told he would never walk again. Through hard work and perseverance, he not only walks but can get around very well in caves. The trickier parts of a cave might slow him down a bit, but he can make it. He patiently works through an obstacle until he gets past it. As for the reference to the small opening in the cave, there is a saying among cavers, if it blows, it goes. Meaning, if a passage has a good flow of air, it is probably worth investigating. After we explored all of the usual passages, we climbed down to check out a hole. Then, we climbed down to check out the hole. The hole is located deep in the cave, near the lowest part of the cave. It is on the side of the cave wall, about 3 feet from the floor. To look inside the hole, I had to kneel down to duck under an overhang of rocks. I used my backup mini-mag light and held it inside the hole to see what I could see. I was excited by what I saw. The wall around the hole was about 3 to 5 inches thick. It led into a tight passage. The passage opened up a bit just inside the hole. It continued back about 10 to 12 feet in a small crawl space. After that it seemed to really open up. Although, how much we couldn't tell. This could be a virgin passage. Obviously no one had passed through this route. But there could be a way into the passage from the other side. To even get into the crawl space we would have to enlarge the opening. Currently it is about the size of my fist. Once we get past the opening, we would have a tight crawl back to where it opened up. It would take some work, but we thought we could do it. We sat down for many minutes to rest and contemplate our plan of attack. While we sat there in the darkness, we could hear the wind howling from the other side of the passage. It was a low, eerie noise. We could also hear a low rumble from time to time. No big deal though. The cave is in this vicinity of a highway that has heavy trucks drive on it. We figured the rumble was the effect of the trucks resonating through the rocks. We determined that our best plan would be to haul a cordless drill into that cave to drill into the rock. Then we could take a bullpen and a small sledgehammer and break up the rock. It seemed pretty straightforward. We could widen the hole big enough to squeeze in and see what was on the other side. The efforts to haul all the equipment down to the hole would be a pain, but we hoped it would be worth it. I named the passage Floyd's Tomb after Floyd Collins. It seemed to look like a tight spot where Floyd spent his last miserable days on Earth. Who's Floyd? What? Floyd Collins was... Oh! Here we go. Floyd Collins was a caver back in the early 1900s. He got stuck in the tight crawl space and was unable to free himself. It is an amazing story that is detailed in a book called Trapped, Story of Floyd Collins. I think that was the title. I don't recall the author. Calling our passage Floyd's Tomb was not only a tribute to Floyd, but a commentary on the size of the passage. Haha! In retrospect, it is funny how simple it was. I thought it was going to be. I figured a few hours and we would be in. Had I known how long it was going to be, I doubt I would even have begun the project. Had I known what I was going to experience in the cave, I would never have returned. We gathered up our gear and headed for the surface. Normally I couldn't care less if I came back into this cave. There's nothing special about it. Now I was psyched about getting back and getting through. We hadn't even left the cave we hadn't even left the cave and we were planning our return trip. The rest of the journal entry talked about the climb out of the cave, our dinner, and our trip back home. January 27th to 28th, 2001. Bing and I were both excited to get back into the cave and get to work. I figured with about 4 hours work we could be in and see what was on the other side. We had arranged to borrow a DeWalt cordless drill to bring with us. We also had masonry bits to drill with, a sledgehammer, too, to break up the rock. Bullpins to insert into the drill holes, and a few other tools that we ended up not using. Getting the tools down to the worksite proved to be a challenge. One of us would climb down the rope and stop at a ledge or good resting place. Then the other person would lower the tools. We kept repeating this routine until we got to the bottom of the cave. Then we had to drag the tools into the hole. It took about an hour to finally get to work. B took the first turn at the hole. After an hour of exhausting work, we could tell that we were not going to get back through we were not going to get through in one session. We kept trading off, and after we worked ourselves into a sweat, one would take a break and get some food and water while the other one went to work. The routine went like this. To begin work, we had to get down on our knees and do our best to avoid smacking our heads on the ceiling. Working in this awkward position, we would drill into the wall around the hole. That was difficult work. We really had to push on the drill, and it was still slow progress. Then we inserted the ball pin into the hole and hammered on it until the rock broke up. Then we would repeat the process. To give you an idea of how slow it went, the typical size rock that would break off was about fingernail size. We broke off a large piece, about 1/3 the size of my palm. It was cause for celebration. Wow. From time to time, for variety, we would just wail on a cold chisel with a 5-pound sledge. It was slow progress. The problem with the sledge was that we couldn't take a good swing because of the tight quarters. Even though we spent many hours and several trips working on the hole, we never did find a better technique for winding the hole. The drill/bullpen/hammer got the best result for our efforts. We came up with some crazy ideas for breaking up the rock. Everything from TNT, never seriously considered, to hauling a generator to the mouth of the cave and running an extended cord down to a jackhammer. We even thought about using liquid nitrogen to freeze the rock and make it more brittle. After a couple of hours hard work, we realized what our limiting factor was going to be. It was about then that our first battery met an abrupt death. We had a second battery, so swapping them out, a second battery lasted a little longer, because we hammered and chiseled a little more often and a little longer each time. Finally, after about 3 more hours of drudgery, the second battery died and we called it a night. Phew! We could tell that we had done some work in the cave, but it was not much. For the first time since we got in the cave, we sat back, both of us. What? We sat back, both of us took a break. It was nice to check out the results for our hard work. Then we noticed the howling again. It seemed to be a little louder than the last time we were there. We figured the wind was blowing a little stronger outside. What we could not figure out was the rumbling. It, too, seemed to be louder and more frequent. This time we could not attribute the noise to trucks. The road the trucks drove on was not very busy to begin with. At that time of night it should be dead, yet the rumbling continued. It seemed to be coming from deep within the passage. B said he would ask some veteran cavers what could be causing the noise. We didn't spend a long time admiring our work. We still had to haul the gear up and out of the cave. Wait, what? We still had to haul the gear up and out of the cave. Actually, we left some of it in the cave. It was still difficult work. What made it worse was that we were both exhausted. Our original plan was to be done with the cave and hit a couple of other caves in the area the next day. Instead, we decided to crash at a nearby motel, charge up the drill batteries, and go back to Mystery Cave. My journal goes on at length about the night after we left the cave. We got a room, dinner was excellent, I didn't sleep but despite the fact that I was exhausted, etc. We both slept in, so we got a late start back into the cave. The second day working on the cave went about the same as the first. We worked until both batteries were dead again. We were still not even close to getting through. The howling and rumbling continued as the day before. Alright, we're back. There was a bit of a cut because I just read a crap ton of boring stuff about caving. And we're on to February 10th, 2001. Scarcely 2 weeks had gone by and already we were on our way back to out to work in the cave. We admit we have become obsessed with the idea of getting through the passage. That may be a sign of how exciting our lives really are. It's not that we think there is going to be something great beyond the passage. We just like the idea of being the first humans on the face of the planet to set foot in a virgin part of the cave. Although, if we found a hidden treasure, that would be fine with us. We got a late start and drove part of the way in the dark. When I tell people that I go caving at night, they wonder why. They don't stop to think that it's always night once you're inside the cave. All the way out to Mystery Cave, we talked about new ideas to speed up our work. B also told me that he had talked to some caver friends of his that came up with an explanation about the rumbling noise. They thought it might be the sound of water deep within the cave, possibly a waterfall. They couldn't really explain why the noise seemed to come and go. To me, it is just one more reason to get through, so we can solve the mystery. This trip we took B's dog, Whip. She is a Jack Russell Terrier. I was not at all concerned about taking the dog into the cave. We have taken her before. She answers the call of nature before we go in, and then waits until we get out again. She is also well behaved inside the cave. We simply had to lower her via a custom-made harness until she reaches the bottom of the main drop. Then she negotiated the rest on her own. She loves to explore, but won't go out of our sight. She doesn't have a light to attach to her, so she has to wait for us. Another reason why I don't mind bringing Whip along is because we planned on putting her into the small hole and see how far into the passage she would go. That might give us an idea give us an idea what is on the other side. We knew that if there were a drop off or we couldn't see, the dog might turn around and come right back out. We thought we might have to do some work on the hole before the dog could get through. Despite working in the dark of the night, we were able to rig up and get down pretty quick. We didn't take as many tools as last time, plus we left in the holes so we wouldn't have to haul them out again and back in again. I did manage to get 2 more batteries for the drill, for a total of 4. Also a few more masonry drill bits. Even with the dog, we made good time getting down. Then something bizarre happened that I can't quite explain. The dog began exploring as soon as we let her off the rope. She was in dog heaven, sniffing and darting about around our feet. She would run from one person to the other as we made our way back to the work site. At the point the cave splits into 4 passages, the dog seemed to run out of juice. She just stuck right by either B or me. That seemed rather odd. As we progressed further into the cave, she would only stay by B. She seemed edgy, like she saw something she didn't like. As we approached the short drop-off before the hole, she stopped, and would only come further after we coaxed off. The hair on her back stood on end. Finally, as we got within 20 feet of the hole, she began to whimper and hide behind B. The tail was between her legs that she was carrying on the ground. Strange. I have seen her square off with dogs twice her size, but now she acted as if Satan himself was lurking in the darkness. I figured there must have been animals that used the cave as a home, and Whip smelt their scent. Too bad it upset her, because there was no way she was going through the passage. Alright, so, yeah. Exciting so far. If you enjoyed, and you want to hear more, which you probably do, because not much scary has happened so far, but if you want to hear more, essentially, or see more, or read more, I will leave a link in the description to the Creepypasta itself, so you can read it. It's really good. It's actually extremely good. And I hope you enjoyed. So, thanks for watching and such. Hang on. My arm is peeling and I don't like it. Why am I peeling it now? Confuzzled. Confuzzy McFuzzleness. Confuzz. Alright, this is Nova Parrot. Signing off.